Hey everybody! Do you wish there was an easy way to create your Instagram content? I know, I wish there was. Are you looking for a simple solution to drafting 30 days or even more visual content in just 1 hour? Well, do you need some Instagram content ideas to get those creative juices flowing? Well, if so, then today's show is for you. I'm joined by the super smart ladies of Tailwind today, talking all about how to create Instagram content. We're going to dive into it. If you are watching this for the first time, or even you're a longtime viewer, we would love it if you would share the internet love to all your circles around there. That's an old Google Plus term. And also, if you would ask your questions, we will get to those during the show today because we want to make this show all about you. Any questions you have today on Instagram, we are here for you, and we'll try to answer that to the best of our ability. Your results may vary depending on who you get to answer that, but we are excited that you're here. Very, very excited. Rebecca, this is an exciting thing about, we're going to help people create content in like an hour. We're going to give them some great tips. So what's your first tip on creating content for Instagram?
Yeah, it's a huge topic, isn't it?
It is. And it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. It's hard to think about where do I even begin? And for me, the most critical piece that I think kind of gets me off and running is the brainstorming and really thinking through what kind of content do you even want to share? What kind of content do you want to create? And I know we talk a lot about knowing who your audience is, and we're not going to get into that today. What we really want to help you with is generating those ideas and finding ways to keep yourself creative even on those days where you feel less than creative. And I think we've all been there too, where we struggle with what do I even want to post today? What is going to matter to both my business, to my audience? So first things first is having a way to capture all of this. So whether it's what we call sometimes a swipe file, so somewhere that you can save things that really captivate you, that inspire you. So it could just be a way of saving some Instagram posts as you're going through them. I like to capture things in my notes app on my phone. You could do it in a Google Doc or a spreadsheet where you can start to collect all of these different ideas and maybe locations where you're going to go to when you are trying to come up with that content. So when we think about brainstorming, Jeff, give us some of your top tips in locations that you like to go to. So maybe websites or tools that you're using.
Well, I would be remiss not to bring up one of the best places to get some help is to go to the URL I just put on the screen. And for you guys listen to the podcast, it's learn.tailwindapp.com/Instagram planner. And so if you're needing some help getting, set up and trying to figure out what to do and some, this is a great resource. I use this quite a bit. It helps me kind of plan things out. So make sure that you guys, if you haven't downloaded this, you go to learn.tailwindapp.com/Instagram planner. It's an incredible resource. You'll be happy that you went and did that. So for me, what I like to do is one of my favorite places to go is to go to, I use Instagram. I mean, that's one of my favorite places to go get great content. And I follow certain accounts that really inspire me. And one of those is Pixar. And Pixar to me is one of the best storytelling companies out there. They do, if you've seen their movies, they're incredible. But their Instagram account really gets my creative juices flowing. Their stories do great. They have interns taking you around the backstage of Pixar. I get ideas for how to edit stories in a creative way. I get ideas for creative posts. So one of the best places to go is to kind of bookmark those Instagram accounts that you really like. It doesn't even have to be in the same genre. I mean, Pixar is way different than my manly Pinterest tips, but it gives me some great ideas. And so do that. You might find a realtor that gives you inspiration. You might find a woodworker who gives you inspiration. The way they edit their videos or has the good captions that really draw you into their post. So bookmark those places and then go visit them daily and then take notes. You don't ever want to copy, but you can get a lot of inspiration from those types of accounts. Another one that I really like to go to is Dribbble, and it's DRIBBLE. BLE. It's a website for designers and just kind of inspiration. And they have some great ideas. If you're struggling for like what kind of a post to do, or maybe color scheme, or trying something new on your Instagram account, it's a really great place where I like to go and, you know, get inspiration from. So those are my two brainstorming places. And like you said, Rebecca, I'm a big Evernote fan. I've been using Evernote for years. I have multiple notebooks. And so like even if I'm in the line at the store, I'll see something like a magazine cover or something, I can take notes, and I have like a entire Instagram folder. I have a folder that I keep quotes on for like when I want to share quotes on Instagram. So the biggest thing I think is always be collecting. Never stop collecting ideas and content that you might be able to use in other social platforms. What about you, Kristen? What are your ideas?
Yeah, I would kind of echo a little bit of what you're saying. I do get a lot of my inspiration from Instagram itself. There are a couple accounts that I follow that I feel like are kind of in the same vein of the content I'm producing, or like you're saying, maybe just really great storytellers, or people who really put like engaging posts and videos and content up. And I actually usually turn on post notifications for them after I follow them. So I always see whenever they have new posts. And if I really think it resonates, if I see kind of the interaction and the engagement that kind of content is getting over maybe other kinds, but just by looking at likes and comments and kind of how everyone's reacting to it, I will drop it into a little saved folder directly in my Instagram. So there are a couple different folders in there that I pull inspiration from, and I try to follow accounts and really interact with them so that they show up first in my feed, of just those Instagram accounts that really create the content that I think is in line with what I'm trying to do, and pulling inspiration from them. So whenever I scroll through my Instagram, I'm constantly being inspired by the content that I'm seeing. So Instagram is really my main tool for that. And then sometimes I'll capture notes, maybe for like caption ideas, or different plans for things I want to feature, or if there's like a holiday coming up, things I can put on my calendar to kind of theme posts around. I'll go ahead and drop those into my notes app on my iPhone. I don't use anything fancy like Evernote, but I just use that notes app.
Well, that's cool. I mean, it's whatever works. I mean, whatever you're going to grab, I think is what we're really saying is just don't say, "Oh, I'll write it down later," because if you're like me, that'll never happen. So,
Exactly. That's for sure.
I do want to bring up a comment for some, and if you guys didn't know, we are also simulcasting over on YouTube, and we have a comment from Elancing Success says, "Hi there, looking forward to this. Greetings from France." Well, I don't know any French words, but not any clean ones anyway. So
bonjour.
Yeah, bonjour.
That's about it.
That's awesome. Thank you for watching. And if you didn't know, we do have a YouTube channel. We'd love for you guys to like and subscribe over there. But thank you for watching all the way from France. So very cool. So brainstorming. I think Rebecca, are there any other like tips that you give people? I mean, one of the things that I've always loved, and I've followed Rebecca from the beginning over when she was doing all the posts over on Google Plus back in the day. You have an incredibly tight and well thought out design process. Where do you go for like your design ideas? Because your design's always spot on, and it carries across not just on Instagram but to every social platform that you're on. What are some of your tips for brainstorming when you're trying to really get some new design ideas?
I'm going to give you one that is top secret. None of us have ever heard of or used. It's called Pinterest. I know. It's shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is fabulous for just researching based off of your keyword, based off of that search term. So for me, it's knowing what is that content that I want to share, and going out and just taking a look at other people within my industry, within my niche, that are sharing that type of content. What are they creating, and how does it appear to be resonating with that audience? And my other favorite tool is Facebook Audience Insights. So if you have a Facebook page, you can pop over to Audience Insights, and you can look at what type of content your audience is responding to on additional pages that that they're connected to, that they're following. And so let's say you bake cupcakes. You are a bakery and you've got a whole bunch of cupcakes, beautiful cupcakes that you want to start sharing on Instagram. Well, take a look at that type of content that other bakeries are sharing. Pop over to all of those big pages and start to look at what is there a common theme? Is there a similar thread that connects all of this content in how they're taking those pictures, how they're positioning that particular content? Then look at the context that they're putting around it, because our visual content is incredibly important. It's going to draw us in, but that context is what's really going to keep people around and keep them coming back for more. So how are they talking about that content? What are they saying about it? What are the words they're using, the terms, the phrases? This gives you such great insight into what it is that your audience is looking for, what it is that you can maybe start to not steal or swipe, but borrow from that and really model, because it's successful, it's working well, and it's something that you could do within your own content. So, back to Jeff and Kristen, your points, there is absolutely no harm and no shame in seeing what other people are doing out there and really modeling exactly what they're doing. And because first of all, it's a time saver. It gets us from point A to point B a whole lot faster. And everything is unique to us. Everything that we do, we are breathing our spirit, our personality, our brand into that. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to get out there and really explore what other people are doing.
So we've talked about like accounts we're following and, things. So let's go into some of the tools that we've used to kind of dive into this. So like one of them is the one that, a lot of people, they know about, but then maybe they forget to use every once in a while. But like Google Auto Suggest, where you just start typing in stuff and finding out keywords that way. So that's just one. And I forget about that a lot. You can do the same thing, just like you mentioned before, Rebecca, is you can do the same thing on Pinterest with the Auto Suggest at Pinterest. You start typing a phrase and it'll kind of auto-complete things, and that gives you some ideas that something you may want to talk about. So what are some other ones? Kristen, what are some other ones that you use, like maybe the Google Auto Suggest? What are some other ones that you might dive into?
Yeah, I really love the Google Auto Suggest, especially if you don't want to pay for a subscription to a really fancy tool. But another one that I really love personally is Answer the Public, because if you go to this website, and I think that they have a paid plan, but the free tool itself can really kind of jumpstart topic ideas and questions maybe that you can answer or gear your content towards. If you type in a keyword, it'll populate different searches that people are looking for, phrase it as questions. So you can really get some really good ideas from that tool. And then there's other ones like Quora, seeing what people are talking about on there, Reddit even. You can kind of see what topics of interest are, and if you can tie that into your content, if there's anywhere, there's a connection that you can make and address a topic, a question, anything like that. And then even looking at Google Analytics just to see what has really resonated with past content on your blog or site that is being searched quite a bit or kind of showing up higher in traffic. That's usually a signal that, that's a topic of interest to a lot of people, and it might be something that you want to expound on.
Very cool. Rebecca, what about you? What are some tools? I mean, we've talked about some of these things that, seem kind of like, oh yeah, but there's even another one where you can just almost send out a question to your fan base or your followers and get, replies that way, which a lot of us don't do. We forget about, we may want to ask our audience. So what are some of your tips about that?
Yeah, that's a really great point. There are some right under our nose that we forget to even use. So yeah, surveying. If you're part of Facebook groups, or you do have a Facebook page, or you're on other channels, or you're managing an email list, starting to ask those questions and being very specific in what you want to know and what feedback you want to get from that. So where you're trying to get with all of this, because we're here to talk about how you can create 30 days worth of content in 5 easy steps. And this first step is the brainstorming. And so as you're going through all of these tools that we're talking about, what you're going to start doing is using just your notes app, that spreadsheet I talked about, maybe Evernote, Jeff's favorite tool, and capturing all of these ideas. So just let it be a stream of consciousness. As you're going through all of these different tools, you're finding ideas. Don't allow yourself to really think at this stage. Don't allow yourself to go, I don't know, is that the right topic for me? Is it the right topic for my audience? Don't overthink this stage. And as an overthinker, I see you. And I totally feel you, because I can get stuck in this stage of overthinking. Oh, shoot, do I really need to be talking about this? Or should I really be talking about this? Don't do any of that. Just drop in every single topic you can think of that you're coming up with. If it's over 30, fabulous, because then you can whittle it down from there. But this first idea, this first piece, it's just about capturing all of those ideas. So get out there, explore, start to look at all of these different tools. You're going to get a sense for what's giving you the best information. And it may be that it's just your audience, that your audience is so interactive, they're so in communication with you, that is really all you need. You look at some of your inspiration over at Instagram, and there's so much conversation that they're having over there. They possibly don't need to go anywhere else. And you could be exactly the same. So also, I want to just add one last piece. Don't feel as if you need to use every single one of these ideas we're talking about here. If it's just one location that you can get all of those 30 days worth of ideas, do it.
Yeah, that's a great point. One of the things I do want to say, we talked about asking questions of our audience, is asking questions. This is something, and it seems silly, but you see it a lot on Instagram now, is when people will take like a screen capture of a Twitter question. I know a lot of people do that, but we've been doing that at Social Media Examiner. We'll ask like, what is your favorite live video platform? And just taking that and putting that on Instagram. And the engagement has been incredible. So don't forget to ask your audience questions. Ask them, what do you think about this? Even like if you're creating content, I would even say like, would you like to have more content on this? Or would you, do you want me to write about Pinterest more? Or what are your hardest questions about Instagram? What are the, those kind of things? And you will get response. And that's one of the great things about Instagram, is that just seems there's a little bit less friction between, you and your audience a lot of times. And so I think, just asking questions might be a good way to see what you get and use that to create some awesome content. So brainstorming, I think we've covered that pretty good. It's very important, but you don't want to get stuck on brainstorming, because we could just brainstorm all day and then nothing happens. So we want to move on to the next part of this this series, where we're talking about all these different ways so we can create 30 days of Instagram content. So it's creating your visuals, which, Instagram's a visual platform. So very important. So what is your process, Kristen, on creating images for Instagram?
So whenever I create images for Instagram, I actually use, I try to keep all of my images kind of in the same look and mood and tone. And one way I do that is through a set of presets on Lightroom. And even whenever I take photos on my iPhone, I have the Lightroom app. And so those presets are installed and loaded in there. And that's basically, if you're not sure what a preset is, that's usually a set of like 10 or 12 different filters that you can put in on your photos when you edit them in Lightroom. And there, I want to say a little bit of a higher quality, maybe a little bit more nuanced than like Instagram filters. And you can just scroll through each one and kind of see how it looks on the photo that you're editing. Drop the one that really like brings out the content of the photo onto as a filter onto the photo, and then upload it to Instagram. And that's a really good way to keep not only like one photo or one post that you put up on Instagram looking, you know, really nice and professional quality, but it also makes your entire feed look really cohesive. So that's one way that I kind of tie all of my content on Instagram together, is with the same kind of set of moody filters, I guess you would say. And there are a ton of different options. I got mine from Etsy, but there are a ton of different sellers and resources to get those presets and kind of get started and play around with them. And then, this is not a shameless plug, this is very true. The 9-grid preview on Tailwind is a lifesaver, because if I take a bunch of different perspectives of different photos, like say one is a flat lay, or one is a picture of me, or you know, different items that I'm photographing, you know, I can kind of mix and match and see, drag and drop, and see what really looks good together, and not post too many of the same types of photos like in a row, so that your feed is dominated by one kind of picture. And so that's a really great tool that allows you to just kind of rearrange and really put a finishing touch on your feed and all of the content that you've planned out for this 30 days, while creating visual interest in it, and kind of differentiating your content a little bit while still tying it together. So that's really how my process works for kind of visually designing my content.
So we have, there's some good questions I wanted to bring up. One from Iris. She goes, oh, will there ever be an option to do filters or presets with the Tailwind app? That would be a life changer. Hey, you know what, Iris? There's a place where you can submit that in your Tailwind account. So send that to our developers, because that would be really cool. So if a lot of people send it, they'll like, hey, maybe we should do this. So any of those things that you guys have that you think would be great for Tailwind to have, don't just like hold it inside and push it down. Let it out. Tell our developers so we can make these changes, and they know that this is something that the public wants. So I encourage you to do that. It would be very cool. Also, there's a couple people who are like, Lightroom, what is that? So that's a app by Adobe. It's actually, it can be an app. It's also a desktop thing. And what we're talking about is there's like presets you can use that you can purchase. There's some already built into Lightroom, and it lets you, it's like kind of Photoshop Lite. If you've heard of Adobe Photoshop before, it lets you go in and edit your photos, put a vignette on them, put some color washes on, all sorts of cool stuff. It's a really, really powerful program. I think you can get it for like $9.99 a month if you just want to do the $9.99, sorry, a month. If you want to do just the Lightroom plan, I think that's it. But it's a really powerful one. You can download a 30-day trial if you want to play with it, but it's really, really powerful, especially when you're trying to edit a bunch of photos for Instagram. It also syncs with Dropbox, so you don't have to fill up your camera roll and all sorts of cool stuff. So it is worth checking out, and it really is a powerful program that I highly recommend. Because, I mean, even like big Instagrammers like Peter McKinnon, he has his own set of Lightroom filters you can purchase. You can buy them like from Creative Market is a place. There's all sorts of places you can buy specific filters that give you kind of a look and feel that you're wanting to use. So what about you, Rebecca? I know you're like the super designer, cool, you know, you do some awesome stuff. Extraordinaire. You've been doing it for, I mean, seriously, I've just loved your stuff from when I first started it. And like, to be honest, everybody, I didn't copy her because she has orange, and it's hard to copy orange in her stuff. But she's been nailing it for years. And so I want to know what you use and how you come up with stuff to create your images.
Well, and if we talk about tools, just to feed off of a little bit of what Kristen was talking about, I think what are so important about tools is they get ourselves out of our own way when it comes to creating this visual content, and that frustration of, I'm not a designer. I don't necessarily have that eye. So finding ways to make it just super simple to create these templates. And one of my favorites is Easel, EASIL. And Easel is a tool that has hundreds of templates created. And what I love about Easel especially is that they have story templates. So if you are creating a lot of stories, or you'd love to create a lot of stories, they have pre-designed templates that you can just plug and play. So plug your brand right into, edit those and make them yours, so that you don't have to necessarily brainstorm what exactly that's going to look like for your brand. You could pick 2 or 3, and what's pretty cool too is they categorize all of them. So dependent on whether it's a promotion, maybe it's a quote from your latest blog post. They've got all of those already pre-designed, so you can customize based off of your brand colors, your fonts. They have tons of different fonts within there. You could save all of that as your brand, which makes it so nice. So you can just pop right in. You can create one, and then you could. To Kristen's point, you could get those into Tailwind. You could see exactly what those are going to look like. So get everything scheduled out, drop those into your drafts, and then into your schedule. See it within your 9 grid right there within Tailwind. And then that is going to ensure that you're sharing these consistently too, which is a big part of the Instagram algorithm and how people are actually seeing your content, so that it's showing up for them. So I not to get away from your question, Jeff, and how to actually plan that out, or how to really think about your visual content. But I think for me, those tools have been critical. I use a tool called Visco, VSCO, and similar to what Kristen was talking about, it has presets so that you have those overlays. So you look at your favorite Instagrammers and you're like, oh my gosh, that is so gorgeous. It's just creamy white, or it always has just this bright hue to it. You can do all of that in Lightroom, like Kristen talked about, or Visco will do the same exact thing. And if you search either one, there are different filters that you can either just adapt right within the app, or you can start to play around and create your own and save that. And the cool part is then, as you pull in your own content, your own images into Visco, you can just copy and paste that filter. So you never have to think about, how do I create consistency within my visual content? It's just applying that same filter every single time. And what you need to think about within your visual content creation is which of those types of overlays, so is it a white, is it a pinkish hue, is it a blue hue, is really going to fit your content the best. So think about, do you share mainly nature-based content, or is it food, or is it something that is a product? So maybe it's makeup, one of Kristen and I's favorite topics. So think about how you're positioning that content as well, and what type of filter is going to best represent or enhance that content. Because as you can imagine, a yellow tinted hue could be kind of ugly when it comes to food. So think about the emotion behind it too. How do you want people to feel about your content in terms of those filters?
Those are great.
Oh, and I have another one.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So, if Lightroom, I think you are correct. I think it's $9.99 for that subscription, which maybe some folks probably may not want to pay that much for an editing app. There is another one, especially for content creators on Instagram who have really colorful feeds, or that's kind of the mood they're going for. It's called Color Story. And it has different, you can buy different packs of presets for a couple dollars on there, depending what really works for you. But they have a whole bunch of different options for editing photos. I think like one of the I think one of the preset packs that's already on there is called like Cotton Candy or something like that. There's another one called Weekend. So depending on the kind of mood that you're looking for, each of those filters will punch up a certain color or a certain aspect of your photos and really make different colors pop. So that's a tool that I also use occasionally that I absolutely love. And that's a lesser price point, I think, than Lightroom if all of that's just too fancy for somebody.
Those are great.
Nice.
I think we need to actually maybe do a whole show where we're just talking about Instagram tools. So if that's something you would like, let us know in the comments, because we could geek out for an entire hour on the tools we like and to share with you. So if that's something you'd want, let us know. I do want to bring up some comments because Brett said something too. He said, yes, that the photographer plan is $9.99 over on Adobe if you are wanting to try out Lightroom. Samantha asked, is easel like Canva? Which would you recommend? It is like Canva. The cool thing about easel is that you're allowed to have layers, which is kind of like if you're used to Photoshop or some design tools, that's really handy. It also, just like Rebecca was saying, it has a ton of templates. A lot of people, and Canva's great, a lot of people use Canva, and so those templates are hit really hard, and you can a lot of times go, oh, there's a Canva template. Oh, there's another template. You can see it in the feed, and you can kind of spot them. So that's what's cool about easel is they have a design team that is constantly adding fresh content, and their story templates are incredible too. So try them both out. I think easel has a plan that you can test it out for a while, and yeah, let us know what you think, because we love both, but I've been hitting easel just a little bit more like Rebecca has lately. So let's see. I got to put this up because this is just great. So Precy says, Rebecca's slides at Social Media Marketing 119 were, whoa, the design was unforgettable, other than she really had great content. Like, I wish I could also do something like that on my talks or workshops. Such an inspiration. So look at that. Look at, you should be proud. It was awesome. I was there.
Thank you. And I'll tell you, a lot of those designs I did right within easel. So you can do it. You don't have to use a big heavy tool. I'm a Photoshop user, like I think Jeff is, but I do love easel because of what he just talked about. It is created by designers. So to me, it's very intuitive. It's very easy to use, but you have a massive amount of flexibility in what you create so that it doesn't look cookie cutter. It doesn't look like everybody else's stuff. And you can't instantly say, oh yeah, that's just a copy and paste job that looks like a template everybody else is using. So thank you for that compliment. I really appreciate that. It is a lot of work to get there to where you feel like you're creating the best representation of your brand. But I have found that finding the right tool, and the tools are going to be a little bit different for everybody, makes all the difference in your ability to get there quickly, feel comfortable with it, and then feel excited about it too. I think that's another big aspect. I don't know about you guys, but there are plenty of tools I've played with that people rave about. And I'm like, I just can't get into this. It's hard. It's frustrating. So you have to find what works for you and also within your flow too. So if you're mainly on mobile, find something that works really well for you on mobile. If you're on desktop a lot, vice versa. So it is definitely a personal preference.
I want to bring up this.
And if I can give myself one last plug, sure. I just Googled best visual apps. I come up on page 1. So if you want to know best visual apps, just Google RebeccaRadice.com. You don't even have to Google it, but you'll see it. So there you go.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great content. I do want to bring up this from Iris. She has a great point. She goes, Canva has bought a ton of royalty-free photo sites recently, so there's a ton of free photos with Canva as well for $12.95. I love it and what I need to do. So that's great. Yeah, so they've been adding a lot of stuff too. So it's tough to pick the best one. It's just, like Rebecca and I are used to Photoshop, and so there's a lot of crossover between what we can do in easel. Canva is great for just the reason that Iris mentioned. So, there's no reason for swapping back and forth. Sometimes you can do that as well. So thank you for all your comments. This is really great. of you guys. And Betty Rose just said she loves easel too. So, boy, we've got a lot of great stuff happening, a lot of great comments. Thank you guys for this. I do want to bring up, if you just joined us, if you are struggling with trying to figure out how to do, Instagram content, well, we have a tool, a great free download for you. If you go to learn.tailwindapp.com/Instagram-planner, you'll be able to sign up and get that. It helps me out a ton because I sometimes am not the most organized, and this really helps with that. So go there to learn.tailwindapp.com/Instagram-planner, and you can download that for yourself. So on to number 3 of the way that you can plan 30 days worth of Instagram content in these 5 easy steps. So step number 3 is writing your captions. Oh my gosh. I want to know what you guys think, because some people write like a novel on captions, and then other people write like, this is what I did today, #my life. Whatever. And so what do you, the trend seems to be like writing a novel, but what do you guys think, and what do you prefer, and do you actually go and read all those? Kristen, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm actually going to take thoughts from Jen Herman last time she was on our Facebook Live, because she made a really great point, I think, that stuck with me and a lot of our members and readers who kind of read the recap or watched that Facebook Live. She kind of acknowledged, right, in that a lot of people are used to those shorter captions and, kind of abbreviated thoughts. And she prefers to use her Instagram feed and her posts as almost like a microblog. So she writes really, really long captions. And she kind of talked about how she had to train her audience and build that expectation over time. So it wasn't just shocking, or like they clicked see more, saw a novel and kept scrolling. So there is a little bit, I don't think one is better than the other. Writing shorter captions or longer captions, whatever really helps you get your points across and connect with your audience. You can make either of those work for you. There may be some training and some setting of expectations for your followers of what that content is going to look like. You may have to experiment a little bit. I prefer longer captions just because I can talk a lot, but it's just up to everyone's preference, and just kind of toying around and seeing what really works for you. Because your True Blue followers and the people who really support you and like what you have to say and really engage with your content, I don't think that they'll really, mind too much hearing more of your thoughts. It's just kind of getting there, experimenting, and finding that sweet spot of really works for you and for your audience.
That's way to hedge your bets there, Kristen. That was really good. So I don't know either, but I tend to do shorter ones just because I'm lazy, and it's writing. It's hard for me to write. So, but the people who do, if I'm really engaged with those people, if I really want to know what they're saying. So let's say one of my favorite, and I just love his stuff, is Pat Flynn. He does great, smart passive income, like his stuff. Whatever he writes, I'll read. If he writes a long comment, I will read that on Instagram because I'm engaged. So I think that's your point. If you're engaging with your audience, no matter what the length is, that will work. So Rebecca, what about you? What are your thoughts on, writing your captions to your images on Instagram? Do you tend to write a lot, or do you just put some random words in the hashtag?
For me, it really depends. So for me, writing captions is like talking. Say it in the least amount of words, but in the most impactful way you possibly can. We know we have a short amount of time to capture the attention of our audience. And so I think you both made excellent points. If you have earned my attention and you're writing really long captions, it's because you're writing really long or really great content that I'm coming back to it. So it just has everything to do with what do you need to say to get your point across? What do you need to say that is going to help your audience do more, be better, feel fulfilled, whatever it is that you need to help them with, or you need to be able to impart for, say, them to take the next step. Well, then test that out. Kristen is 100% correct. You're never going to know until you get out there and do it and test those short form, those long form, and really get a feel for what your audience is looking for. What do they respond to? So go back to what we talked about with surveying and asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask, write those longer pieces of content and then ask those questions throughout or at the end, and then see what kind of response are you getting. You're going to be able to start to gauge what your audience's appetite is for that length of your caption. But I will go back to, it really has everything to do with the value of that caption and what you're trying to get across. So if you can say it in a short space of time, then do it. There's nothing worse than just droning on and dragging something out because you want to listen to yourself talk.
That's right. Or write and see yourself talk. Yeah, it's even worse. So one of the cool things. Yeah, one of the things.
I was not pointing at you.
Yeah, it wasn't you. No.
Pointed, but okay.
Yeah. So one of the cool things we're going to start doing here on the Marketing Unleashed show is we are going to have like the Tailwind tip of the week. So we are going to bring on a special guest right now, and we're going to get some comments first as we're making the transition. But so if you guys have tips too, do hashtag tip in the comments. And if you have a tip that maybe we didn't know that you're using for Tailwind, we would love to know and maybe even want to feature you one week on this show, because sometimes you guys have special things that you guys do that we don't even know about that we would love to feature and maybe even implement and write blog posts about. You never know. So let us know. Do hashtag tip in the comments, and we will look at all those tips after the show is over. But there's a couple of questions I want to bring up. One of them was, what are you guys using right now for this live? So that's a question we get quite a bit. This is actually vMix that we're using to stream. So it's vMix, and it's PC only. So that's what we're using to stream this show with. A lot of people were asking that in the comments. Another comment is, and I think Rebecca hopefully knows the answer to this. I'm going to put her on the spot. Is there a word limit on Insta? We were just talking about the lengths of captions. Do you know what the character limit is? I think I know, but I want to test you.
Off the top of my head, I don't. But yes, there is.
I think it's 500 characters, because I think when I've tried to go over that in the Tailwind Instagram app, that it gives me it kicks it back to me. I may be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong, if you guys know in the comments. But I think it's 500 characters. I just have a feeling. I'm not sure. What do you think, Rebecca?
I think it's quite a few more. I want to say it's over 2,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe. See, let us know, because we don't know everything. We act like we do, but we really
Google
don't.
it.
Yeah, we should Google it. But we have our special guest here. So, Rebecca, go ahead and introduce our special guest.
Yes, Dorisha. Dorisha Bailey is new to Tailwind. So everybody, welcome. So we're starting this new tip of the week, and asked around the Tailwind team who would love to tackle it first. And you were the brave soul that raised your hand and said, yes, yes, yes. So thank you.
You're welcome. Hello, everybody. So for my tip of the week, it's hashtag, which I know is super, super scary if you're just now getting started on Instagram. One of the biggest questions we get is, how do I know what hashtags to use, or do I really need to use hashtags? I say yes, definitely go for it. We have made this super simple by using our hashtag finder and hashtag list. They can help you save a ton of time when creating your drafts. Now, how do I get the hashtag finder? Where does the hashtag suggestions come up? They actually start populating when you begin typing your captions. So a great segue from the captions that we just talked about. So within your Instagram post draft, you begin typing in a caption, "Oh, cute puppies today." Our hashtag finder will then start bringing up a list of suggested hashtags that match, have relevant and relatable hashtags. They are going to be super simple to determine which ones to use because they will be color coded. They're going to go from a gray to an orange, and there's 2 shades of green. We strongly suggest utilizing a mix of all of these colors. So a lot of people see green and say, oh, green means best. I need to use all green. Not necessarily. You want to use some highly competitive ones along with some best ones and some niche ones. So going into the hashtag list, once you've created your draft post, you have all of your hashtags in there, which you can do up to 30, which is an Instagram limit. So up to 30 hashtags, you can actually save them and you can create a custom name, which will be your hashtag list. So now creating your next set of posts, if they're about puppies, you can just select puppy hashtags and all of your hashtags will auto-populate, saving a ton of time on creating your content.
That's awesome.
Yay.
That's one of my favorite features. I use that. I've used it for, I've snuck in there and used a hashtag finder for accounts that weren't using Tailwind that I had to use because it's so handy. And I thought your point there about mixing it up was huge, because you're right. A lot of people, when they first start, like, I'm gonna use all green because green is best. Well, it's not.
Yeah.
You wanna mix it up and do it and kind of see what's gonna work well with your audience and your account and getting on the explore page and all of that stuff. So very, very well done. Thank you for those tips. Those were awesome.
Welcome.
And a fun fact before Dorisha leaves us is, if you ever have a question for Tailwind, she's on the customer support team, so you could be talking with her. So if you have questions around anything we've talked about here today, feel free to shoot her a note and just tell her, great job, because you did. It was awesome.
You did
Oh,
great.
and second thing, your nails are amazing.
Oh, thanks.
I'm listening to you and watching you. I'm like, beautiful.
Come on, focus,
Thank you.
Rebecca, focus. So, all right, so we are going to bring up some more questions as Kristen gets back on, and I was totally wrong, and I will admit that fully. This is how many characters you can have on Instagram. It is 2,300. That is from Jennifer.
2,200.
Yeah, so 2,200, and Lori says the same thing. Percy says the same thing too. So yeah, don't listen to me on the character counts because I didn't know what I was talking about. So anyway, that's how many. Very, very cool. And Melissa goes, love the custom name for the hashtags. I think she talked about setting up the hashtag list in Tailwind. Saves so much time, and it is so easy. Yes, that is what's so cool about that. And you can have multiple lists for different, if you post a thing about dogs, boom, you can have your hashtag list about dogs. If you're doing something about walking outside at the evening, you have the sunset ones that you have found that work the best for your account. So it's very, very cool. Rebecca, do you have anything to add about that?
No, I think she did a great job in just explaining why you would want to use a variety of different hashtags. And the cool part, I think, that whole saving time aspect is you can break them down based off of your categories. So as you're thinking about this visual content strategy, and in that brainstorming stage, as you're thinking about what your topics are, start to do some research too around those hashtags. So what do you want to be known for? What hashtag do you want your content to show up in, so that as people are searching within those hashtags on Instagram, it's a natural connection between the hashtag to your business, to your brand. So within that brainstorming, I think you can also start to connect the dots between your content, your visual content, and also your hashtags.
Very cool. All right, well, Kristen's back, and we are wrapping up the last two steps for how to plan 30 days worth of Instagram content in 5 easy steps. We're on tip number 4. What is that, Kristen? What is tip number 4? What do we need to do? Very important.
So after kind of planning out all your content, tip number 4 would be to set up a free Tailwind account. And so
how do they do that?
If you can sign up on the website, and we also have a mobile app as well. And whenever you sign up for the free version of Tailwind, you get 30 posts free, I believe, on Instagram, which is perfect for planning your first 30 days worth of Instagram content. And you can go in there and load up all your drafts. The hashtag tool, like she was saying, we have a really cool emoji picker. So if you like to illustrate your captions like I do, I use a lot of emojis. I also use them in my blog posts. Then you can just go ahead and just pepper that caption with emojis from that emoji picker keyboard. It's so easy to use. And then once you connect your Instagram account and all of that, then you can start to set up your best times to post based on whenever your audience is most active on Instagram. You can decide how many times a day you'd like to post. Like once per day is at least what we suggest. Just as a best practice for creating Instagram content, your engagement really rises whenever you post at least once a day. And so you can set up those best times based on whenever your audience is most likely to see your post and be active. And then you can just hit that schedule. I mentioned before the 9-grid preview, so you can kind of rearrange your posts a little bit, see how they all look together, how they all work together in your feed. And then we also have the auto post feature where it'll just push that for you. You don't need to open a push notification or anything like that. So there's a lot of really handy features in the Tailwind app that can help you push out and plan those 30 days of Instagram content fairly quickly and easily. And then you'll have plenty of free time for other stuff.
That's cool. I want to do one of the things I wanted to mention though, like you said, tying, your Instagram account together. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to give all my access information to Tailwind from Instagram. That I got gazillions followers like Rebecca. I don't know if I want to do that. Well, here's the thing. You usually don't want to do that for some of those sketchy apps that ask for your Instagram username and password. But Tailwind is an official partner with Instagram and Pinterest. So you don't have to worry about that. They are partners with them. So everything is on the up and up. And that's one of my pet peeves is some of these other sketchy apps ask for that. And you're actually breaking the terms of service with either Instagram or if you're doing it with Pinterest, some of those apps. You don't have to worry about that with Tailwind. It is an official Instagram partner, and it's awesome. So you can rest assured that all your data will be okay.
Yay. Yes. Well, and it's such a big deal in this day and age of security and privacy, just knowing that, you are safe and secure. And one of my favorite tips, so we're going to kind of flow from 4 to 5, which is get that free Tailwind app set up. And then 5, which Kristen started to talk about, our 5th tip within how to get 30 days worth of content is now getting those 30 days worth of visual assets up into the Tailwind app. And I tell you what, one of my favorite features is that I can go straight from photos on my iPhone. I can click share and boom, right there is the Tailwind app. And I can just upload all of those drafts directly into my Tailwind app. And then they'll just sit there and I can come back in and I can drop my caption. And Kristen was talking about all of the different features. So how easy it is to get your caption in there, to then get your favorite saved hashtags. We also have a feature that allows you to drop your hashtags into your first comment. So if you want to keep your description clean and tidy, you can click the button and we will automatically drop your hashtags into your first comment. You don't have to do anything different. You don't have to come back or bounce out to Instagram. We'll do it all for you. So you can get everything in there. Then you can preview through your 9-grid so you can see exactly what you've already got posted and then how that new content is going to play out, what it's going to look like. And then Kristen talked about having your best times to post. So when your audience is actually online, this is going to free you up from having to sit on Instagram or sit anywhere like in an app all day, every day, and just drop those into your best times to post. So let's say you want to post 1 time per day. You tell Tailwind as you get your free account set up, I just want to post 1 time per day or 1 time every other day or 3 times per week. Whatever your frequency is, you set that up. We do all the heavy lifting and figuring out what your best times are. So as you move content from your drafts into scheduled, you don't have to think about what time you actually want that to post. It's just going to move into that next best time. And then you always have flexibility where you can just drag and drop and you can move those around. So if you're looking at your 9-grid and feeling like, this isn't the best flow, this doesn't make the most sense, or maybe you do a variety of different types of content. So you have quotes and you have different types of visuals. You can move those around so that you don't have certain things back to back. So you have tons of flexibility, but I was going to show you my phone, Jeff, but you probably wouldn't be able to see it if I showed it to you. But it is literally, Kristen, you talked about lifesaver and time savers. It is one that I love because it is just so simple. Within, 1 second, I can just boom, move that content in. And it really becomes your own content planner because you can have hundreds of images sitting there within your drafts and then just come in, drop those captions in as you create them and get those scheduled out very, very quickly.
That's awesome. I do want to bring up this comment because I think this is really a lot of people have this question: is can you schedule stories inside of Tailwind? No, you cannot. And that's what I mentioned, those sketchy apps before. There is no way to schedule stories with any official Instagram partner as of now. They have not opened up the API to allow that to happen. We're hoping maybe they will someday because that would be really, really cool to be able to schedule stories, but they may not because they kind of like that, 24-hour, here I am kind of in the feel of the flow of things, scheduling stuff. So they may never do that. But if they do open that up to the API, we'll sure hopefully get that out there. But we don't have it right now. None of the other ones do. If they do say that, make sure you read the fine print because what it really does is push notifications, where it's kind of the old time scheduling where it'll give you like a notification on your phone to go and send it now. So it's not really auto scheduling at all for stories. So just be aware of that if you see somebody promising that it's not open on the API yet for Instagram's official partners. So that's why we don't have it, because we just don't.
Well, and Jeff, one quick thing on that is we do have the notifications. So if you want to plan out your stories and really see what they're going to look like, you can upload all of that. So we were talking about if you're creating them in a tool like Easel, you could upload all of your stories and you could schedule those as push notifications. Yes, you'll still have to open up the Tailwind app, open those up directly into Instagram, but it is a nice way to at least get them all into one location, manage all of your Instagram content in one location, and get those reminders. Because if you're anything like me, I'm like, ooh, shiny object. And right. I'm on to the next thing and completely forget that I was going to post that. So it's nice to kind of have that tickler system that comes back to me and says, Rebecca, by the way, you were going to post that story.
And make sure you turn on notifications, because like I have all mine turned off. And so you want to make sure you turn those on so you do get notifications to get those pushed to your phone. It is great to be able to batch create content and then schedule it and have those push notifications. But just be aware that no official like automatic scheduling is allowed yet for stories. I do want to have this question because we are running short on time. You guys have been great. Awesome questions. But Rebecca, what do you think about this? Because we do offer this now. Does it make a difference if the hashtag is placed in the comments compared to in the captions? Because now we can, with Tailwind, automatically paste those hashtags in the first caption. So does it matter?
It's a great question, and one that we get asked an awful lot. And the answer is no. It doesn't matter whether you put it into your description or down into your comment. It's really a personal preference, whether or not you feel as if it muddies up the effectiveness of your description. Do you feel like it's taking away from what you're trying to get across or what you're trying to say within your description? So what does matter is how quickly you get those hashtags up. So if you are letting us do that for you and drop it into your first comment, or you're just keeping them in your description, that's excellent, because timeliness is everything with the Instagram algorithm. You want to make sure that you get those in there immediately. So if you're doing it yourself and you're dropping them into your first comment, you just need to make sure that as soon as you hit publish, you're getting those hashtags into that first comment as well. You want to give Instagram just that immediacy of being able to see that all of a sudden people are interacting, that they are gravitating towards your content, and hashtags are what help with all of that. So no, they don't necessarily help or hurt in that situation, but it is a personal preference in how you want that post to actually look.
Great points. I do want to bring up this last comment since we're almost done with the show today. You guys have been awesome, but I thought this was a great. Oh, that's not the right one. Oh yeah, it is. Sorry. It's from Katie. She goes, once I've searched the best hashtags, I have made 13 to 15 hashtag collections in the saved hashtag on that topic. I have several saved, and it saves me a ton of time and energy. I thought that was a great point that she's using the hashtag list on Tailwind, and it's saving her a bunch of time. And I think that's what we're all about, is trying, this whole show has been about creating content, and for 30 days out and getting that all scheduled out there using Tailwind, because it does such a great job with this. And just like Katie said, it saves her a bunch of time and energy. And with that, that is our show for today. Ladies, I'll let you guys have the last word. What would you want to tell our audiences who are just thinking about trying this Tailwind thing?
Well, trying everything we've talked about here today, I would say breathe. It can feel very overwhelming to tackle 30 days worth of content. So if you need to take it in bite-sized pieces, do 5 days worth. Do that bit of brainstorming, so you don't need to make it a big project. Take 30 minutes of your day, do some brainstorming, capture those ideas, then do the next piece the next day where you're actually creating your visual content. And I would play around with a variety of the apps that we talked about here today, see what you like the best. And then create a few different visuals. Then get yourself over into Tailwind and start uploading, getting a feel for getting that content into your actual schedule. So you're not only building that muscle where you're going to get more and more comfortable with creating content, but you're going to become quicker and faster at it the more you do it. So build it into your own daily workflow. If you've got 30 minutes to an hour in the morning where you've got peace and quiet with your cup of coffee and it's a perfect time, well, commit to doing that every single day of the week so that you are coming back, you're feeling more confident. And that is what I find incredibly rewarding. When I stick with something, I start to see a result, even if it's just a result of I'm feeling more comfortable with this app. I find that all comes with committing to it and baking in that consistency into my process.
Awesome. Kristen, what about you?
I would say I feel like maybe if you're just starting out on this, a lot of the things that we covered in this, it's a lot of steps. It's 30 days of content. It may seem a little overwhelming. The place I always like to start is, again, pulling inspiration, whether it's from accounts that I follow or, what have you, and kind of just scrolling through and starting to notice what's really working, what's really going into it. You can look at an Instagram post and say, oh, that's a nice picture. Or you can dig a little bit deeper into it and notice the perspectives. If there's any editing, if the entire feed has a look, or, just the different styles and the kind of a little bit deeper into the mechanics of how those posts work and why they're so appealing to you and why they're so appealing to the audience. And then you'll start to be able to grab some inspiration for your own content. That's always the place that I love to start, just for inspiration. And then secondly, I would say head on over to Tailwind. The free trial, it's free. You don't have to put in a credit card, as I remember. And there's no annual subscription that you'll be surprised with billing or anything like that. You really do have the opportunity to just test it out and see if it works for you and plan out 30 days of content using all of these tricks that we talked about.
Awesome. So I want to really wrap, just at the very, very end, is wrap up our 5 steps because of some questions in the comment. Number 1, you want to brainstorm topics. Number 2, you want to create your visuals. Number 3, you want to write out your captions that you're going to put up there. 4, you want to set up that free Tailwind account if you haven't done it yet. And 5, get your content scheduled and planned for the next 30 days. And that's how you can, get all that stuff out there, get your content done for 30 days. I know it sounds really simple when you list it out in bullet points like that. I know it's harder than that, but hopefully these tips that these ladies shared with you today will really help you get a handle on your Instagram. We'd love for you guys to go and download our free Instagram planner. You can go to learn.tailwindapp.com/Instagram planner. And with that, we thank you guys so much for watching. We will be here next week talking all about Pinterest. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.